So, this assignment was very eye opening to me because I was able to explore the ways I deal with conflict, and it gave me some tips on how I should deal with conflict. For the quiz, I got a 10 in competing, 8 in accommodating, 12 in compromising, 6 in avoiding, and 12 in collaboration. So I scored the same in compromising and collaboration. I do attempt to do both of those things when I'm in conflict situations with my coworker, but as our text, Folger, Pool, and Stuntman suggest, that during the course of the conflict, it sometimes shifts and goes in ways in which are negative to the conflict resolution. And as a compromiser, I do try to find a trade off or a middle ground when I'm in conflict. Um, I do make it known what my position is in the conflict and what exactly I wish to get out of the conflict. I would classify myself as a, a firm compromiser. I do stand strong in my positions that I just won't give up in a conflict situation, but I will not let the other person know what things I'm willing to give up and what things I would like to not give up and I want to stand firm on because I don't like to show my hand right away. And working in the law field, we deal with divorces, custody, disputes between business partners. And the quickest way that we do resolve conflicts is usually by compromising, where we just split everything down the middle. Um, Sometimes I don't think it's fair because maybe in a marriage, some person will do more work than the other person or earn more money, or in custody one parent may have taken care of the kids more, but in order for it to seem fair and quickly wrap up a situation, everything just gets split down the middle. I know that when I compromise in conflict situations, I don't always think it's fair because I feel like I give up things that I don't think that I should have had to give up in the first place. And the things I had to give up just seem to simmer under the surface, um, because I don't feel like I should have compromised on those, and they will just raise other conflicts. I do agree that if I compromise once, then the other person is going to feel like I need to compromise over and over again, and that will just be what is expected of me in any conflict situation. Um, Now, as a collaborator, this is how I try to solve conflicts. Um, I'll try to listen to both sides. I try to, in the workplace, I try to understand what my coworker wants in the situation. And I do try to not brush her off and her ideas as being insignificant, but I'm in a higher position than her. So I kind of compensate and make sure that she feels respected and she feels heard in the conflict situation. Um, and if I don't agree with her, I will show her evidence and say, this is why this won't work and this is why this will work, so that she doesn't just think that I'm brushing her off. Uh, but since I'm in a higher position than her, sometimes I just make a power move and just override everything that she says and just make it my decision as final. But again, I answered these questions on how I would like to conduct conflicts in the workplace, but a workplace is not very professional. So most of the conflicts that we have are very competitive, and they'll lead to like a faux compromise where we both feel like our positions are heard, but it's not really fair. Um, we always just try to battle to see who is right and who is wrong. My coworker will start calling names. She'll start yelling. She'll say offensive things, and I'll just respond by ignoring her. And then she'll start crying and threaten to quit. And she'll do that until either I agree with her or I don't. But then the conflict is still there and it always pops up again. I think that I deal with emotional stress as very foot on the gas. I get very agitated, I shake, I'll feel my body temperature rising, and I'll start crying, and not because I'm sad or I'm trying to manipulate, but I feel so many emotions that that's how they are exerted from my body. Um, and in that moment, I'll stop listening to what the other person is saying, and I'll forget what the original conflict was or what my position was it in the conflict was. And I'm really, really, really trying to work on dealing with and managing my stress during a conflict. And I think that I am emotionally aware because I do experience all of the emotions in a conflict, and I'm not afraid to express them. If I'm happy, you know. If I'm sad, you'll know. If I'm angry, you'll know. But then in the same vein, I also tend to not be able to communicate clearly because I'll be focused on my emotions and not trying to listen to the other side. To become more emotionally aware, I'm going to be long in the ears and short in the tongue. I will respect what the other person is saying and not discount their emotions. I will be present in the current conflict. I will decipher if the conflict is something that is worth my time and or energy. I'll try to not be petty and take digs at the person and try to not feel that I always need to be so defensive. And then I'm going to just walk away from the situation if I'm not making headway. And this 100% will help most with conflicts with my coworker. So when I'm involved in a conflict with her, I'm going to just take a beat and listen to what she says. I'm not going to attack her or demean her position so that I can prove that she's wrong and I'm right. I'm not going to bring up her actions or reactions from past conflicts and use those to gauge how she'll react in the current conflict. Um, Sometimes she does pick fights with me that I don't feel are a big deal and aren't relevant. So I'm just not going to engage in those arguments. And I think the biggest thing I need to do is to forgive so that I'm not just holding resentment from how past conflicts panned out and things that were said in past conflicts. And if I can get past that, then I can focus on what I'm feeling right now and we can solve the current conflict. Now, this is going to be very tough to do because, as I said earlier, I try to apply the tactics. It doesn't seem to work and the conflicts just spiral. But I think that if I can control my emotions, then I can just make sure to steer the conflict in a cooperative solution.